much fun was it, Rahul? I mean, we are looking at one of the greatest quartets in Test history. How much fun was it?
I think it was great memories. I think it's the beauty of sort of having been retired and being able to sit back and think about some of these things. When you're in it, obviously it's great fun and you have great memories, but it's also extremely competitive and you're trying to do well, you're trying to win test matches, or sometimes you don't have an opportunity to sit back and reflect. Just to be a part of a quartet like this, for me was very, very special. And obviously, you had someone like Viru in this group as well. He, batted with us for 10 years. So it was a really special five to be a part of, simply because I think we challenged each other, we pushed each other, and I think personally at least, I think I learned a lot from these guys and batting with them.
Saurav and Sachin knew each other from an under-15 camp, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the camp Vasu was talking about, Vasu sir, Indore. And that was the first time I saw him, and what struck me was how much he wanted to play the game. We used to finish practice. Actually, Vasu sir had to take him out of the nets. He was told that there are other people who are supposed to bat. There are about 20.
Was one of them left-handed waiting for his turn?
Yeah, there were 20 of us. Okay. And we had to get an opportunity to bat. And it was hard to take him out of the nets. And the best thing was we would finish training by afternoon, and say about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then he and Vinod would keep practicing with the tennis ball, and we would go back to the dormitories. We were staying in the stadium. So that struck me at a very young age, that how much he wanted to bat, how much he wanted to play. Then I saw him in the under-17 in Kanpur, where he got 175. And what stood out for me was the bat he used. And how old was he then? About 15? 15 or 16? And it's one of the heaviest...
Well, if you were 15, he was 15, I mean.
Yeah, one of the heaviest cricket bats. One of the heaviest cricket bats I've seen ever. You can understand, you grow up, and we heard about Clive Lloyd or the West Indians use heavy bats. But at the age of 15 to pick such a heavy bat, it was a Pakistani bat, Isan, if I still remember. To pick that bat and bring it down was really, really special, I thought.
Did you think, I mean, each of these three keeps coming into the book at various times and they stay in the book for a very long time. Did you think the gentleman next to you would have 300-run partnerships, this under-15 campmate of yours, you'd open the batting together for India, and then this young man, you'd make, 6,000 plus runs batting together? Is it all a blur? Is it coming back now?
You see, with Saurav, we started playing together in 1984 or 85, I think. 85, we went to...
Just about turned teenagers.
I think...
He was my roommate in 14. The MRF Base Academy. Trust me, he was. And I still remember on that Mount Road in Chennai, we two never seen each other, and he used to walk in the night. And the first night, 2 separate beds, and he was sleeping.
We were roommates because you didn't want to sleep alone.
Whatever. Whatever. No, in those days we didn't get single rooms, and it's an honest confession. And one night I just saw him. He got up from his bed, walked around his room, and came back to sleep. So I thought he must have gone to the toilet, because I myself was half asleep, so I'd let it go. The next night I saw the same thing again, and I asked him that night. I said, "What's happening?" He says, "Yeah, I have this issue." So I used to be awake for the rest of the night.
Vivesh, you were the junior most. Was there a sense of awe when you first got? You come into the book a little later, so that's why I came last to you. Was there a sense of awe when you first came in? Because by the time you came in '96, Ahmedabad, you had already made quite a few test hundreds.
Yes, I was in awe of Sachin. I remember playing under-19s with Amol Muzumdar, and we were playing against the England A side at the Wankhede, and I slept at Amol's place, and behind his door there was a huge picture of Amol. Amol used to literally take his blessings before going to the ground, and he used to adore him. So I heard a lot about him and Ravi Shastri from Amol, when we were growing up. And the first time I met him was in 1996. This was in Nottingham. I was playing club cricket there, and I went to the
You'd come to the team hotel.
Team hotel to meet all the players. It was a special feeling meeting him, and then at that time also I could see the kind of humility he had, because he always used to be the first one to come and talk to a youngster. And someone like me who was not yet part of the Indian team, just that experience, felt really like $1 million experience, which you would never ever dream of getting. So I think I was very fortunate that since then I was able to build this friendship with him. And I remember even my first test match with the team, he was the captain. He just made me feel so welcome, made me feel comfortable. And it happens to all the cricketers who for the first time come into the Indian changing room. They are in awe of Sachin. Just watch him from close quarters, because all this time before coming to the Indian team, they're reading about him, they're seeing him, they're probably wanting to meet him, which is so difficult for a lot of youngsters. So I think I was in awe of him, but he made me comfortable, and that's what is important.
It is true, isn't it, that when you went out to bat in Sydney, just before you went out, you were sleeping on the dining table?
Again, that time Dada was my room partner. And this time, again, he was sleeping. And I was practicing my drills at night because I was going to bat the next day. I stayed awake, till almost 2:30 in the night. And I was thinking about how I'm going to bat the next day. And standing in front of the mirror, I was practicing, doing my own things. And I didn't realize that Dada was awake quietly watching me. So the next morning,
Tell me, how could
I
you
was
sleep?
sleepy next morning.
I'll just interrupt. How could you sleep when all the lights in your room was on and somebody was practicing? All you had to do was to close your eyes and wait for him to sleep.
So before going into bat, I was really sleepy, and I woke up at the same time, and I told Dada that, Dada, मैं सोने वाला हूँ थोड़ी देर के लिए. So just inside the dressing room, from where you could also watch the game, there is a big dining table there. So on that dining table, I slept. I slept for a good half an hour or so. I said, अगर कुछ होता है तो बताना मेरे को. But that's where I thought, I needed to rest a little bit to be able to do something special.
Upwards of 6,000 runs, Rahul, the two of you chatted a lot together, I'm sure. Is it true that you spoke to each other in Marathi only when you were playing against Pakistan?
No, I think I guess we sort of conversed in a lot of languages. But yeah, I think sort of when we were in the middle, I think we sort of tended to speak a lot in Marathi as well. We were not really, I think you didn't need to converse very much after you batted, with him for a long time.
This is now starting to sound a bit like a Rajshri movie, where everybody is very happy with everybody else, everything is nice. There must have been the odd disagreements as well over 15 years.
Yeah, obviously people...
How did you handle that?
No, people talk about Multan all the time. And
when was the last time you were asked about Multan? 5 minutes ago? 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, no. Just telling people that every time I answered the question about Multan, I got a rupee, I would be a multi-millionaire. So...
Just for the sake of everyone wondering what you're talking about, Multan was the 194 declaration.
I would think you didn't need to mention that. This is an audience you've just talked up at the start. Look, when you have 16 years together as me and Sachin have had, sure, there are going to be times when
Was it that long, 16?
Yeah, 16 years together as players. There are going to be times when you're going to have the odd, disagreement, or you're going to agree to disagree, and that's going to happen, and that's part of, being a cricketer in a high-pressure environment, playing for your country, trying to do your best. But I think along the way there are also some really good memories, and there are really some really good moments. And the fact that we can sit here today and we're still friends after 16 years, at least for me. I know that. I'd like to believe that there's that.
I think so too.
I guess that.
No. At least for you, Jam. No, I think. Let me tell you, there are so many disagreements that we have in the dressing room. It just happens so behind the closed doors, and the whole world doesn't get to see all those things. This one happened on the field, but that doesn't mean that we are fighting and we are not talking to each other. We sort of closed that chapter immediately, and we've had many match-winning partnerships after that. And above all, Jam and I continue to be good friends. So I think that is what really matters. Disagreements, each and every cricketer sitting here in this room would have had some stage in his life. It just so that this happened,
I'm sure that, yeah.
I think the greatest thing for me on that particular day is obviously, I had a conversation with Sachin before the day started, and we discussed it and what might have happened. But the end of the day, and I think the abiding memory for me in that particular test match is me giving Sachin Tendulkar the ball on the last day that day to bowl and over. and he got Moin Khan out, and we walked off as a team, celebrating that wicket. And for me, that was what it was all about. India on the verge of an historic test win, winning a test match in Pakistan for the first time. And Sachin being able to sort of forget all of that and focus on what was the most important thing, as he's done so many often in his career, which is try and win test matches for India, and with the ball, and just to see that joyful glee. And for us as a team to be able to celebrate that, for me as a captain that day was just brilliant.
So in a sense, you took the wicket that justified the declaration.
No, I mean, but Jam stopped me the next morning. I only bowled 1 over. Jam, come on.
This was the next day after the. Yes.
Yeah, just to add on that, Arsha, I think for me the most memorable part of that journey was, while there were agreements or disagreements, everything was for the benefit of the team. And that's why I think we were all able to achieve a lot of success, not only in India, but even overseas. And all of us, not only 4 of us, but the team which played during that time, took a lot of pride in playing for the country. And I think what was important is when we went out there in the middle, it was not a competition amongst ourselves, but a competition against the opposition. We wanted to do well against the opposition. So I think that is the most important thing.
He says one of his biggest regrets is that he couldn't play in the same side as you.
Yeah, I think we would have been pretty good, certainly running between.
You might have done all right together.
I think as far as the running between the wickets, I think we would have been good, because I think for me the most important thing in batting with anybody was that my partner should be able to come for that quick single, dap the ball around here, keep the bowlers all the time bowling a different ball to a different batsman. That for me was important. So for me.
But they might have had to bowl the same length with the two of you.
Well, no, not necessarily, because I think he was more a front foot player, so I think he would have smashed them. So I would have defended them and he would have smashed them.
Just a 15-year-old kid, you brought him to play in the nets against Kapil Dev, and then said he's good enough to play for Mumbai.
It was a bit odd for me, to be honest.
You asked Kapil Dev to bowl to a 15-year-old.
Yeah, but hats off to him. I think he bowled, and all of them bowled to him, and he was very impressive. In the same evening, we had a selection committee meeting of Mumbai, and I told selectors I was Sachin, and we should include him. They said, no, he's too young. If he gets hit, आपली press pan काढेल. But I said, you must pick him in 15, and I think it's time. I think we should just pick him. So they said, okay, Dilip, since you are saying this, they will pick in 15. And then for the first 3 days, he didn't come for practice. And I was a bit surprised, why he didn't come for practice. So I asked Vasu, Vasu, kahan aala practice la? And 4th day he came for practice. So I was a bit livid. I said, Coach Vasu, just have a word with him, He said, and he has Sachin, kahan aala practice la 3 divas? Sir, drawing chi pariksha hoti. And Vasu said, अरे बायना सांग ड्राइविंग ची परीक्षा घे ड्राइविंग ची नाही.
You were with him on the tour of Pakistan. Got out in his first innings, and he came back and he said he wasn't sure he belonged here. And there were a couple of senior Mumbai players in there who said to him that you need to respect the bowler at this stage as well. And you were in that little group, weren't you?
I think I was lying on a massage table. Pissed
By
off.
the way, gentlemen, that's Ravi. Just turn the volume down a little.
Pissed off at the way I had got out. So,
Yeah.
I was pretty annoyed. But he gave me time. He gave me an hour and a half till I had calmed down. And he walked up and he came and said in Marathi, Chikar ghai kela na me. I was in a big hurry. So I just looked at him and said, 16 years of age. And to be fair, during that half an hour, 25 minutes he spent at the crease, you would say he looked like a fish out of water, right? A month later, once that tour of Pakistan was over, you could safely say that there was a big, great white shark, inside that water, and you knew the seas belonged to him. And it did belong to him for 25 years. So, what I did tell him at that time was what you exactly said. I said, respect the conditions, respect the opponent. But don't change your game for nobody. Just play your natural game. Just give yourself that little bit of time.
17. I mean, there you are. He's a 17-year-old kid.
Okay, I didn't know he was 17 or what.
He looked 12.
I didn't even know who he was.
You didn't know who he was?
I didn't know. My friend is here, Aparna. She was with me when I went to...
And she said, shh, Sachin.
No, she told me, don't you know, this is the wonder boy of Indian cricket. And
Wonder boy?
He's just scored 100, youngest Indian to score 100. I didn't care what he was, who he was. I had no interest in cricket. I saw him, I thought he was really cute.
I didn't have any interest in medicine either.
And I ran after him.
And you ran after him. Did you just say that? Did I just hear you say that?
We were, in those days at the airport, there was a viewing gallery. So I was actually looking for my mum, who was supposed to have landed from England.
Oh, you planned it that way?
No, I did.
Oh, okay.
I just saw him and I told Aparna, who's this guy? He's so cute. And then I forgot about my mother. We ran down and I ran after him like screaming, Sachin, Sachin. Yeah, he's so cute.
You forgot about your mother. She's sitting there. Did she forget about you?
And the funny thing is, Ajit and Nitin were there with him, and Sachin was so embarrassed that this girl is, running after me and screaming my name. So he was only looking down. He didn't even look at me. He like quietly looked down and got into the car.
The only thing I looked was the color of her t-shirt.
Which was orange.
Which he remembered when I met him for the first time.
And I thought you were going to wear orange today. And then you picked up the phone and called him.
Well, now,
I
was studying medicine. I was in my final year, so I go to college the next day, and by then I had been told he's a cricketer. And my friend Mufi, he was studying medicine with me, but he also used to play cricket. I caught him. I said, Mufi, you have to do one thing for me in this. You have to get me this Sachin Tendulkar's number. So his cousin was their mother. He got me the number. And see, this is what I say is destiny. I called Sachin, and Sachin never used to pick up the phone. In those days, there were no mobiles, nothing. But that day, he picked up the phone. And I said, hi, my name is Anjali. You don't know who I am. I saw you at the airport yesterday and all. He said, yeah, I remember. I saw you. I said, what was I wearing? He said, yeah, you were wearing an orange t-shirt. So then I know that, yes, he had noticed me.
I said orange t-shirt.
The young people today won't even know what it's like to write letters. But when I met Sachin in 1990, there were no mobile phones, so no SMSing, no calls. There were no computers, so no emails. If ever I wanted to call him, and I was studying in Grant Medical College, there were those PCO booths, so I had to get out of this huge 46-acre campus, cross Muhammad Ali Road, go to a PCO at 10 in the night, because that's when the rates, the STD rates or ISD rates were less. And I was convinced that the whole place was full of gundas, but I had to go there all on my own, and then with 100 rupees or whatever I had, and then you call and, you see with every second that you're talking, it's going up, and within 1 minute your money is finished. So the best option was to write a letter. So I used to write, and then you have to anticipate, a letter to reach Sydney is going to take 10 days or 2 weeks. So, you plan ahead and you send the letter to that place, and then he would get my letter, he would read it, then he would send a letter back to me, and that is the way we communicated most of the time.
Yes, breaking news, the Tendulkars worried about the meter ticking on a telephone call.
Hello, I was a Mehta in those days, and I was a medical student. I was not a Tendulkar.